How's it? This is an extra video that I'm doing for a favor for Doc Sports about Sweet 16 tips in college basketball. And Doc Sports is putting together a really nice newsletter, really nice content about just helping you with Sweet 16 selections and some of the processes that we use towards Sweet 16 selections. So I wanted to put this quick video together for you. It's going to be used for that content that Doc Sports is going to mail out. But I'll just put it on YouTube because I think it's better if it's a conversation as well. So I want you to take 3 points with you that we use, and I want to give you some specific examples on those games. Number one, don't be afraid of taking selections in this Week 16. Scared money don't make good money. Okay, scared money don't make money. What I mean by that is we took 7-unit selection on the Miami Hurricanes plus the 7.5 against Auburn. That's because Auburn consistently on the road against Arkansas and so many others, they just weren't great. They shouldn't be laying 7.5 points with anybody who's a pretty decent team. Miami beat Duke. Miami's a good team. So don't be afraid. We took St. Bonaventure as a 7-unit selection yesterday against Virginia because our research showed that St. Bonnie is a good team, right? And Virginia has trouble against top 50 teams in general. And St. Bonnie, honestly, is a top 50 team who has some major wins. So number one, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. TCU plus the 9.5 against Arizona. Consistently, remember, St. Bonaventure went into Oklahoma and beat them. Why can't they beat Virginia, who's been struggling all year? So don't be afraid to make the selections that you make, okay? And the same thing with Notre Dame covering yesterday, and so on and so forth. Even North Texas, well, North Texas lost in overtime to Virginia. But that should tell you something about North Texas, the fact that they were in favored over Virginia in an NIT game. So don't be afraid in general. Number two, at this point in the season against Sweet 16 teams, fade the public. Just fade the public. You're going to do okay, right? I'll give you an example. When people are such heavy favorites on a team, such as that Miami-Auburn game, right? So when it comes to the NCAA tournament, given the amount of people that are on these games, just imagine the amount of people that are on these games. So many teams. So don't be afraid to fade the public. I think the next NCAA tournament is obviously on Thursday. You know, mostly Houston, Arizona sort of split. Texas Tech is favored over Duke. I personally like Texas Tech early on. I kind of feel bad about telling my selection early on, but that's a good public fade. I think Michigan-Villanova should be interesting. And I also think that Gonzaga is not going to look past Auburn, and they're going to take it to Auburn. That's a good public fade. You don't just naturally get 9.5 points. Okay, so don't be afraid to fade the public, because when there's more eyes on games like the NCAA tournament or the Super Bowl or the NBA Finals, fade the public. Number two. Number three, look for unders. I love taking unders on nationally televised game where everybody's thinking it's going to be a sexy over. I'll give you a classic example. That game against, Notre Dame game against, well, the other thing is, if the total is low, look to go lower. If it's low, look to go low. If it's high, look to go higher. It's a theory that I use quite often. Some examples of that, the total for Texas Tech and Notre Dame was 132. It's low. It went really low, didn't it? It went way under. Same thing with Iowa State, Wisconsin. The total was 126. It was low. It went way under, didn't it? Similar, and same thing with Ohio State, Villanova is at 134, and it went under too. If it's low, look to go lower. If it's high, look to go higher. That's my personal theory. So these are just some 3 tips that you can use for the Sweet 16. Number one, don't be afraid. Number two, fade the public. And number three, look for unders, because everybody thinks it's going to be sexy and it's going to be high scoring. But when 2 good teams get involved, they don't get there unless you have good defenses to begin with. Hope this was helpful. Please take a moment to like and subscribe, and hope you enjoyed the content. Take care.